It's funny how things dance through one's mind when locked inside the MRE machine for nearly 30 minutes. At first, all I tried to do was make music from the annoying and extremely loud noises piercing through my earlobes. Yet as I continued laying there in the rest in peace position, arms folded over my chest, not able to move, and locked inside this medical casket, not able to move, the reality of the moment brought light to another reality. I loved soldiering, but my career was coming to an end, and I wasn't quite ready for the change. It's been a year since then. I retired from the Army, but at the time, in the MRE machine, I had already served over 20 years of active duty military service. My body had taken a beating through those years, several knee surgeries, back infusions, but the Army was my family. They held my strings, and I was afraid to let go, no matter how much pain I had to endure. I was scared to transition into a civilian world that I didn't feel thought like me. But you have to know when it's time to let go. There are opportunities outside of the military. The military has guiding steps for you through the whole process. You just have to trust them and trust your instinct and yourself. Being in the military makes one part of a team. Sometimes the idea of leaving that team brings thoughts of failing them. But you're not. This is your future and you're in charge. You must make this major life-changing career transition as smooth as possible. Perhaps unintentionally, but way too often, military members neglect to properly prepare to transition from the military. I'd like to discuss today 3 ways to help make that transition a little smoother. It's extremely important to start transitioning planning early. Ensure all your medical issues are documented and try getting treatment for your medical ailments prior to getting out of the military. And finally, make sure you involve your family in every step of the process. These last 12 years have kept our military engaged in battle. So it's too easy to become engulfed in the mission and forget about the reality that your military career is coming to an end. In my case, I was ready to hobble back to the fighting theater, bad knees and all. But inside that medical catacomb, I realized I wouldn't be helping my team in my condition, and I wasn't helping my family if I didn't begin my military exit plan. So the first thing you have to do is accept that it's extremely important to start your transition planning early. I was seriously prepared to go back to Afghanistan to realize what I thought was the dream job, Public Affairs Sergeant Major for the International Security Assistance Force. I had no plan in place, so I learned the hard way. But I was very lucky the Army had a great transitioning process. The Army Career and Alumni Program, or ACAP, as it's normally known within the ranks, has set milestones identifying what you should be doing as you prepare to transition out of the military, and in this case, the Army. I knew it would take me at least 18 months to finalize everything I needed to be prepared to transition. ACAP suggested that within this amount of time, you should attend a Transition Assistance Program workshop. It also tells you to identify the training, education, or certification requirements for potential jobs you want to work once you leave the military. My main job was public affairs in my career. However, I had several positions of leadership. I made sure I documented those positions and tried to find ways to highlight them in a spreadsheet, which I called my next job. I also began looking at numerous resume samples. In the civilian world, this is your NCOER and OER. Start prepping it early. Ensure that once you start planning, you won't fall into any guilty bullying from leadership, that you're not doing your job and that you're being selfish because you're preparing yourself and not thinking of the team. Nonsense. Stay focused on your plan. This will make you feel more confident as you move forward. Another thing to remember in your early planning is finding where you want to settle at. Once you decide where you're going to hang your hat, then you must focus on that area's job market. Remember, it's never too early to contact potential employees to let them know who you are and when you plan to transition. I knew I was staying in the Washington, D.C. area, so I started early connecting people who I knew had transitioned into this area. Other things you have to consider in your early planning is looking at the calendar and marking when you plan to take terminal leave or cash in any unused leave. Remember that the salary you make in the military may not be the same once you get out. So look at the potential state taxes, figure out what your expenses are, and find that magic number that will give you the opportunity to continue enjoying the lifestyle you've accustomed to on a military dime. Remember to be realistic. You may want a GS-15 right out the gate, but in reality, you may only get a GS-11. Now that you understand why it's important to start your planning early, let me talk to you about ensuring all your medical issues are documented and why you should try getting treatment prior to getting out of the military. Unfortunately, sometimes you will encounter moments in your career where if you say you're going to sick call, you'll be chastised as being soft. This is a terrible situation because not documenting the injuries you obtained during your military career will cost you in the end when you're transitioning out of the military and trying to claim some form of disability through the VA. It's extremely important that your medical records are kept up to date. Perhaps some of you are years from getting out of the military and have several more PCSs moves in your future. Well, those moves are where your medical records and the contents within those records become lost. I suggest you make copies of your medical records early in your career. This way, you'll have evidence to prove when you're getting evaluated by the VA for service-related injuries, and the record helps validate your claim. Remember this, if you don't keep it documented, not only will you lose money, but you'll potentially lose the opportunity to get that ailment treated by the VA in the future. Another important factor is getting your medical issues treated while you're in uniform. Military members have priority at local military hospitals. You'll get seen quickly, you get treated, and you have documentation. If you wait until you get out, you'll find out the hard way that you no longer have priority for medical treatment. Plus, you'll be paying some kind of insurance to get your medical issues treated. So, get it done early while you're still in. Trust me, it will help you. I mentioned earlier that the military was my family and they had my strengths. But the reality of the matter is that your family, the one at home, is truly the bedrock of strength that keeps you focused, helps maintain order in your home while you're away, and stands by your side during happy and bad times. That is why it is fundamentally important and completely necessary that your family is involved in your transitioning process and planning. I believe the military family is somewhat tougher than our civilian counterparts. The nature of the military business deems it that way. My wife, God bless her heart, has been steady in my career. She's maintained our financial obligations intact while I was deployed, ensured our daughters kept focused on their education, and she still had time to lend a hand to other military spouses in their time of need. So, it was obvious for me to include them in my planning, and you should include yours as well. One of the things my wife and I did was set up our things to do calendar. These things included things like talking to a financial counselor, ensuring our insurances were up to date, and making sure our wills were updated. She was with me the whole step of the way. If you're married and retiring, it's important that you and your spouse attend the Survivor Benefit Plan, or SBP briefing. This briefing highlights what will happen to your retirement money if you happen to die. When a military retiree dies, that retirement pay stops. This means that the surviving spouse will be left without a substantial income source. Therefore, if you plan to retire from the military, you need to give serious thought to how you can protect your spouse from the hardships caused by the loss of your retirement pay. The SBP is an insurance plan that will pay your surviving spouse a monthly payment to help make up for the loss of your retirement income. The plan is designed to protect your survivors against the risk of your early death or inflation. So keeping your family in the planning process helps strengthen that bond you hold as a military family. You'll always continue being a military family. These are your roots. A well-informed unit moves forward with confidence. Confidence within yourself, confidence within your family. Don't neglect to properly prepare for your transition from the military to civilian life. I've spoken to you of 3 ways to help make that transition a little smoother. Remember, it's extremely important to start planning early. Ensure all your medical records are up to date and documented, and try to get treatment early before you get out of the military. And finally, make sure your family is in the transition process planning. The medical catacomb that day served as a transporter for me. It helped me realize I needed to get going with my transitioning planning. You don't have to wait to be locked up inside an MRI machine to start your planning. Do it early, do it right. I hope I brought some insight that will help you while you transition out of the military. Thank you for your time.